Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nic Cage Fight Podcast. And we are celebrating today. It's a very, very, very special day. Henry Kissinger finally died. Rest in piss, bozo.
You won't be missed
the whole time.
Yep.
Death finally got it at the claw machine.
Yeah. Is Henry Kissinger even in this thing? But yeah, no, fuck that guy. Glad he's dead. Hope it hurt.
And it's funny because like a day before that, what was it, like Warren Buffett's right-hand man died, and that meme came up, and I was like, yeah, but if you're death and you're gonna miss, like, not a bad miss.
No. Now, you said that this didn't have anything to do with Spider-Man before we got recording. Technically, it's got something to do with Marvel because Dr. Doom actually hired Henry Kissinger to defeat the Fantastic Four one time.
Jesus Christ.
That's dope.
I have to find that issue.
Hold on. I'm going to send you a single frame from it. It's unhinged.
Was his plan to just bomb civilian areas indiscriminately?
I don't remember the actual fucking plot. I remembered it happened, and then I found that one fucking panel when he died. And I was like, I'm sending this to everybody.
Listen, Dr. Doom was just like the Fantastic Four in Laos right now. You gotta take care of it.
Jesus Christ. That's horrible.
It's unhinged.
Anyway, yes, a special day. We're celebrating. Thank you for joining us to celebrate as well. We're actually here to, as always, run down a movie that has Nic Cage in it for any amount of time at all. I am one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan. How are we feeling today, guys?
I mean, pretty good. We're in a world without Henry Kissinger.
Fuck yeah.
My spider sense is going off, but I think that's just because this housekeeping is going to be a monster.
It is going to be a monster. I'm feeling like with great power comes great responsibility, personally. So...
And I already have my shout outs that I know you're not going to put on here, too. So
I want podcasts about Spider-Man.
All right. Let's dive directly into housekeeping because this is going to fucking take a minute. So first up, we've got the directors, three of them, actually. First up, we have Bob Persichetti. I believe that's the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, you nailed it.
All right,
I can say that as an Italian.
So this is this individual's only directing gig. However, they wrote the 2015 Little Prince and then worked in the animation department on a number of films, including Shrek 2, Monsters vs. Aliens, and Puss in Boots.
Hey, Puss in Boots was actually fucking good. I know y'all trash me for hating kids movies, but that one was legitimately excellent.
I actually haven't seen it, but I have heard very good things from adults about it, so I'm gonna have to fucking crank it up at some point.
Yeah, it's
not bad. Like, that little Shrek universe is not the worst.
No, because it's DreamWorks taking a piss take at Disney, which I kind of appreciate.
Oh yeah,
of course. So next up we have Peter Ramsey, who directed Rise of the Guardians.
Cursed movie. Absolutely cursed movie.
And then a number of TV series. So We the People, a few episodes of Lost Ollie, an episode of The Mandalorian, an episode of Ahsoka, and then a lot of art department gigs.
Very disappointed to find that Lost Ollie is not about skateboarding.
Next up, we have Rodney Rothman. Again, this is the only directing gig, but he did work as a producer on Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping, Get Him to the Greek, Year One, 5-Year Engagement. So some producer credits there. But interesting that...
And he wrote 455 episodes of The Late Show with David Letterman. That's a fuck ton of David Letterman.
I have that in his writing credit.
Okay.
So...
saw that. I was like, Jesus Christ.
I try and parcel him out. Yeah, he worked on that show for 5 fucking years. So, moving on to writers, we have 2 writers. First up, we have Phil Lord, who did Clone High, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 1 and 2, the Lego Movie, Ninjago Dark Island. So, a fair amount of kids' content writing credits.
By the way, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, like, low-key fucks.
Oh, I love the shit out of that.
Cloudy with a Chance... that Clone High fucks.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and Megamind are 2 of my favorite animated movies of all time.
Fucking agreed.
Solid shit. So the other writer is Rodney Rothman, who wrote for 22 Jump Street, Grudge Match, Help Me, Help You, and then the Late Show with David Letterman from 95 to 2000. As Ryan mentioned, like over 400 episodes.
455. That's so fucking much.
So many episodes. Jesus. And that covers our writers and directors. So now let's just jump into this massive ensemble cast here. We have top of the list, as always, because that's the whole reason the podcast exists. Nic Cage as Spider-Man Noir, which is a great bit.
It's a great bit, but they don't do everything they could with it because they completely omit the most insane piece of his backstory. Guess how his Uncle Ben dies?
Oh, how?
He gets eaten by a cannibal.
Oh. Well, I can see why they cut that. Number one is he's a side character, and number two, this is a quasi-kids movie.
Yeah, he's like 5 lines in the whole fucking thing, and every one of them is a joke, basically. Yep.
I would say they're funny. They're very
great.
funny.
I really enjoy it. So, next up, we have Shamik Moore as Miles Morales, who was in Samaritan, which was that like vigilante superhero movie with Stallone that Ryan said was bad, so I put it
really bad
towards the back of my list. He was in Wu-Tang and American Saga.
Yeah, he plays Raekwon in that.
Always going to mention Wu-Tang when they pop up because
they're for the children.
Yep,
this is true.
He was in The Pretenders, Dope, Let It Snow, and Cutthroat City. So next up, we have Jake Johnson as Peter B. Parker, who was in a bunch of stuff, including Safety Not Guaranteed, 21 Jump Street, Coffee Town, Neighbors, Jurassic World, The Mummy, Tom Cruise version, and Mythic Quest is the TV show.
I will also just shout out, he is the only reason why the fucking show New Girl is watchable.
I didn't throw New Girl on there because I know nothing.
That's
about
not
New
true.
Girl.
Prince was there once.
Yeah, once.
That episode is watchable because Prince is there.
But the reason why the series is watchable is because of him.
Okay.
Like, that show is bad. Zooey Deschanel is not funny.
This is also true.
The fact that he makes it as funny as he does, like, good for him.
I like her music more than I like her acting.
I like when I don't see her.
Take that however you want to. So next up, we have Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy. I'm actually a big fan of her, primarily because True Grit.
Yeah, that Coen Brothers True Grit remake was really fucking good.
So good.
Oh, you mean the less autistic version of The Old Way?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted, the whole time I was watching The Old Way, I was like, I want to be watching True Grit.
Yeah. Correct to want.
But she was also in the Ender's Game film, Pitch Perfect 2 and 3, Edge of 17, Bumblebee, one of the Transformer movies that I never watched. She was in the Hawkeye show.
Yeah, she's a pretty good Kate Bishop. I'll give her that. I did watch that.
A solid Kate Bishop. Also, Hawkeye was a decent MCU series. I mean, I know they lost their fucking minds with it, but that one was pretty solid.
Yeah.
And she actually has an extensive music career and music video appearances, which I was not aware of. Next up, we have Mahershala Ali as Uncle Aaron. Definitely a dynamite actor, in my opinion. He was in Swan Song, Moonlight, Green Book, True Detective Season 3, Predators. He was in the last entry of the Hunger Games, the 2-parter. So 2 films there, Benjamin Button and Alita Battle Angel.
That's the one I would have shouted out. I like that.
I did too.
And again, he made that unwatchable Drek the Green Book. He was amazing in it.
He's a paragon of charisma.
He really is.
He's so good, and that movie's so bad.
Next up, we have Luna Lauren Velez as Rio Morales. She was in Serial, Breakout Kings, Officer Down, which was a solid entry. I think we've mentioned that before on the podcast. She was in The First Purge, the 2019 Shaft. I first saw her in Dexter.
I gotta get around to watching that Shaft because it's got every generation of Shaft. It's got the original, it's got the Samuel L. Jackson, and it's got Michael B. Jordan as the new one.
Nice. And she was also in Oz, another prestige TV drama. Next up, we have Brian Tyree Henry as Jefferson Davis. This actor is somebody I keep an eye out for because I enjoy his appearance in every film I've seen him in. without exception. So he was in Bullet Train, which we have talked about on this podcast before as being a dope action movie that we
Yeah, because
recommend
it's
you watch.
amazing.
It's an
really
awesome
fucking good.
fucking movie.
I still haven't gotten around to watching the Japanese one that was based on the book that was before this one in that series.
Yeah,
it's really good, and he may be the best character in that movie, full of phenomenal characters.
Yeah, he was really solid in it. He was also in Eternals, which I actually didn't hate as much as it got panned in the box office. I think it's hilarious that they made Kamal Najani get super ripped for like one action role, and then he didn't book another one.
I mean, it's basically Cage with blue, fucking the boy in blue.
Yeah, yeah. Although I think Kamal had to use more performance enhancing items than Nic Cage did, but who knows? He was in Godzilla versus Kong as like a conspiracy theory guy who ended up being right about everything. Good role. He was in the Joker movie as the dude who's working at the asylum that what's his name's mom was at. He was in the 2019 Child's Play, Hotel Artemis, the Vice Principals TV show, which was solid, Boardwalk Empire, which I actually can't place him in Boardwalk Empire. I've got to go do a rewatch to find that. Has made appearances on Drunk History.
That is his funniest credit because he plays Barry Gordy.
And Atlanta, which is another solid TV show.
One that I've never watched. I know I need to get on that.
I have to watch all. I've only caught bits and pieces, like an episode here or there. Next up, we have Lily Tomlin as Aunt
Hell
Meg.
yeah, Lily Tomlin.
Was in Nashville, Grandma, All of Me, 9 to 5. Did a voice acting spot in the English voiceover for Ponyo, Orange County, Beverly Hillbillies, a bunch of shit.
You didn't mention the Cage connection. She was in the Ant Bully as Mumu. Mamu?
That's right. I knew I'd done Lily Tomlin before, but I didn't cross-reference.
And I probably shouted these two out when we did Lily Tomlin previously, but she is excellent in shortcuts. She pancakes a kid with her car, and she's married to Tom Waits in that. Nice. And she's also really good in The Player. She just plays herself because that's a Hollywood movie about a producer that gets away with murder, and he just interacts with a bunch of like actual famous people.
Nice. Next up, we have Zoe Kravitz as Mary Jane. She was in Mad Max Fury Road, The Batman, Divergent, X-Men First Class, Kimmy, the Fantastic Beasts movies, Dope, Good Kill. Solid CV there. Next up, I have Catherine Hahn as Doc Ock, famous from Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, Step Brothers, The Goods, Live Hard, Sell Hard, Our Idiot Brother, Wanderlust, We're the Millers, a lot of TV spots. She's in the MCU as what's her name? Harkness.
Yeah,
some sort of witch.
But yeah, very, very funny actress. Next up, another dynamite, one of my favorite dudes to see on screen, Liev Schreiber.
I knew that's where this was going.
Yeah. You knew it.
He's in Ray Donovan and nothing else. Go watch Ray Donovan.
That is not true. I will not stand for some Schreiber besmirchment on this podcast. He was in The Manchurian Candidate.
Ray Donovan.
That is a bad remake. That Manchurian Candidate is bad.
Asteroid City.
Ray Donovan.
Still haven't seen it. Ray Donovan.
Goon.
Ray Donovan. Oh, okay, he was good in Goon. He was good in Goon.
Really good in Goon.
Like his monologue was so good in that, I will knock you the fuck out.
Yeah.
Sum of All Fears, Scream 3, Phantoms.
Hey, 3's the good Scream sequel. That's the one where they're making the Stab sequel. And it's all on the set.
Wait, was he also the Bomb in Phantoms?
No.
Affleck was
only Affleck was the Bomb in Phantoms.
Okay. I wasn't positive if he was also the Bomb in Phantoms.
And he was also in Ray Donovan. Next up, we have the best of the Chris's, that of course being Chris Pine as Peter Parker. Chris Pine, obviously famous for the Star Trek movie remakes, the Wonder Woman movies, Don't Worry, Darling, which was an oddball, but I actually enjoyed when I finally got around to watching it. The Dungeons and Dragons movie, which was phenomenal in my opinion. I'm happy to hear that they're probably doing a sequel. Outlaw King, Smoking Aces. You've seen this guy around. Also has that really weird like 80s housewife drip lately in photos that the paparazzi has caught him in. Solid sense of style there. Next up, I have Kimiko Glenn as Penny Parker. She was in Nerve, Construction, In Reality, Your Monster. Not stuff that I'm overly familiar with, but wanted to give a shout out. And because there's so many fucking people appearing in this, we're moving on to the honorable mention section where I'm just going to shout names at you and not give you any background for it. So we have John Mulaney, Oscar Isaac, and Natalie Morales.
Oh, you missed a big
Who
one.
did I miss?
You missed one of the fucking members of the Lonely
The Island, Jorma Tacone, baby.
Jorma Tacone. Also, Kevin and fucking Hot Rod. I love this little guy.
He's a DJ in Never Stop, Never Stop. Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Yep.
And is also plays one of the funniest characters in Parks and Rec.
He was in The League for like 3 episodes.
Yeah, no, my favorite part of his thing in Parks and Rec is he plays like the stoner CEO, and they call a meeting. He's like, "Well, it's 4/17. You got 3 minutes to tell me what I'm gonna do."
yeah. He was also in that weird movie Kung Fury as Adolf Hitler.
There you go.
There you go. Indeed.
Oh, he wrote the MacGruber movie?
He did, yeah. He's a fucking major comedy writer. Like, all of the stuff he writes is really fucking funny.
Yeah, he didn't even make it to the top cast billing on this one, which is why I missed him. So
and I will always shout out the Weird the Al Yankovic story. He was Pee Wee Herman.
He was Pee Wee Herman in that, yeah.
But yeah, like fucking Oscar Isaac's credit is interesting person number 1. I couldn't even place him.
What? No, he's the guy at the very end.
No.
Yes, he is. That's
the last guy you talked about. He literally is credited as Green Goblin and quote the last guy.
No. He is. That was definitely Oscar Isaac playing Miguel Herrera. Fuck, he's got like a
Miguel O'Hara.
I was gonna say he's got an Irish last name.
Oh,
yeah, that was Oscar
why they
Isaac.
credit him as interesting person. Got it.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. We made it through housekeeping, and you know what? It's time for a fucking ad. If you haven't subscribed on our Patreon yet to get rid of these pesky things, that sounds like a you problem. I suggest you rectify it. That's just my advice. And otherwise, hit the fast forward button or sit through, I don't know, suggestions that you seek gainful employment at ICE or go to BYU or some shit. It's probably bad. There you go. And we're back. Keeping up the aggressive
ads?
streak.
There's so good ads. There's ads.
I can't help it. I hate our ad breaks.
I know you.
But with housekeeping out of the way, we can get down to the plot of this very fun movie. Now, keeping in, and I'm just saying this for your guys' sake primarily, I'm going to, I have my plot notes written with credulity embedded there. So reveals of names and shit like that are going in line with the story. So if you haven't watched this and prefer to consume it just through audio, you can be surprised or shocked as the reveals show up. But you have to be completely ignorant of basic elements of the Spider-Man storylines from here on out to be shocked.
Because this is all origin story shit, baby.
Yeah, it's relatively straightforward. So we start off with, and I did love this running theme. We start off with some voiceover narration by Peter Parker, giving a rundown of his life as Spider-Man, taking some fun shots at the Raimi Spider-Man films and various franchise merchandise over the years. I did like that sort of self-aware, self-deprecating bit that they did here, and ends.
Yeah, it's the only Spider-Man movie to acknowledge the existence of the Spider Buggy.
Yeah. And ends his particular monologuing with, "There's only one Spider-Man, and you're looking at him." We cut over directly from here to Miles Morales, who is listening to music and working on his art, which is graffiti style in his sketchbook. And he has to scramble to pack for school and get out of the house. So Miles goes to a boarding school because like he's packing to leave for the week, and then coming back on weekends. But he sets off on his own to walk to school and then manages to trip and fall directly into a street in front of a cop car that is driven by his dad. So his dad insists on driving him the rest of the way to school, and scolds him a bit because Miles does something that, in my opinion, is a cool thing. I loved seeing it when I lived in Philly, where he'll do his graffiti art on those USPS stickers and slap them on shit.
Yeah, those have good adhesives. That's why they do that.
Yeah.
Are they
So-
free? Can you just like take stacks of them? Or is
Yeah,
it just the
yeah.
adhesive bit? Okay, so it's free.
It's
and
a
sticky.
combination of the two, but they definitely are hard to peel off, which I think
Gotcha.
is the main thing. Easy to peel off of cardboard, hard to peel off of anything else.
Gotcha. Okay. So Miles' dad, obviously, who is a police officer, is driving him to school, and we get the sense that Miles is not super psyched about this school. His parents, however, are, because it's elite for like smarter kids. Miles references that like he wouldn't even be going here if he didn't win the lottery, which his dad pushes back on, because it turns out that Miles is actually quite smart. Running theme with the Spider-Men in general. But Miles misses his old public school. So we also get additional context here because Miles' dad specifically states, he doesn't want him to turn out like his uncle, which kind of surprises Miles because Miles likes his uncle. He thinks his uncle is cool.
Yeah.
So they get to the school, and before Miles gets out of the car, his dad's like, all right, have a good day at school. I love you. And Miles goes, I know, gets out of the car and starts walking up. Now, the front of the school is crowded with kids.
This is such a good scene.
It was so fucking funny. Miles gets almost to the door, and then the siren blips, and the PA system, the speaker system from the car goes, you have to say I love you back. It's like, are you fucking kidding me right now? It just stops everything. The kids are laughing, but his dad insists until Miles does say he loves him back. Very funny bit. So
I got distracted because so full disclosure, I'm also on Twitter right now because I am patiently waiting for a new servers to drop for the new WoW season. And I came across a statement from the New York Yankees, RE passing of former United States Secretary of State Henry Kissinger.
I saw that.
Why New York Yankees?
I didn't even read it because everybody who was posting it was speaking very negatively about it, and I was struck by the same thing. It's like, why is a fucking sporting franchise
talking about Kissinger
on the death of Henry Kissinger? What the fuck do you have to say about it? Our own governor actually said something positive about Kissinger.
Ooh, hate to see it.
Yeah, well, to be fair,
but it makes sense of a politician saying something positive about Henry Kissinger. Like, okay, I get that. I don't like it, but I understand it. I don't understand like a statement from the New York Yankees.
No, absolutely not. That's fucking unhinged.
Oh, absolutely. Like, what?
I want to hear the statement from the Venture Brothers writing team because they did the only good Kissinger bit in the history of animation. Henry Killinger.
That's good.
With his magical murder bag.
But yeah, so then we get some cuts of the school day, which seems hectic. It seems like Miles is still sort of trying to get his bearings at this place. And then he ends up arriving late to a class where it must be some sort of science class because the teacher is playing a video presentation of some prominent scientist in universe and is lecturing on some sort of complicated math. I'm a math dummy. I ended up, getting an accounting degree. And my favorite thing is people would always say, it's like, oh, you must be really good at math. It was like, then you don't understand math. Accountants add, subtract, multiply, and divide. That's it. It's base level math.
And there's a thing called a calculator that does the work for you.
See, I'm so stupid at math, I still think you're a math genius.
I'm not. Like, I work with some people who have like math degrees, and they do some wild shit. Like, trying to figure out like distance calculations. It was like, how am I fucking supposed to do that? They're like, oh, you just do this and then send me a spreadsheet with sequence numbers that it feels like a HP Lovecraft story. When I open it and look at it, I was like, I understand fucking none of this, and I feel my sanity slipping away.
Yeah.
Well, that's why like one of my favorite subreddits is They Did the Math, because I get to see all these nerds like talk about nerd shit, and it's fun. I like it.
I find that shit interesting too. My eyes will glaze over, but I will be plugged into what you're saying. So in when he enters this classroom, he ends up sitting next to this is the only one I'm going to be very upfront about because it is clearly Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
But we get a funny introduction to this character later. She laughs at his joke, which I can't. Oh, that's right. He makes a Einstein joke.
Yeah.
Because the teacher's like, you're late. And he's like, didn't Einstein say time is relative? Maybe I'm on time and you guys are all early. And nobody says anything. and Gwen Stacy laughs at it. So after this, we actually get a scene that gives us context that Miles is trying to self-sabotage his way out of the elite school. But for being a smart guy, he does a really dumb thing. He turns in a a true-false test with all of the answers wrong. And the teacher's like, the only way you could possibly do this if you knew the right answers and purposely got all of them wrong, because otherwise you'd get at least 50% if you were guessing.
That math doesn't seem right to me, and I'm math stupid.
Well, yeah, if you were to randomly fill out a true false test,
it would always average out to 50%.
Yeah, if you did it like 100 times statistically.
Yeah, because like there'd be sometimes you get 0 right, sometimes you get 1 right, but then there's sometimes where you hit everything, so it's going to average out to 50%.
It's honestly one of those test taking scenarios, because one of the main ways I got through academia was being good at test taking and being very lazy with studying.
Yes.
But true falses is one of the few times where you could fuck yourself by knowing just a little bit about it and tricking yourself into giving the wrong answer for every single question. It's very difficult to find yourself in that specific circumstance, but it is possible.
Well, also teachers are very bad at giving true and false answers. They normally lead you in some way, because I can't tell you how many times, like, I did not study for something in college, and then the teachers are like, oh, it's like a true false quiz. I'm like, oh, I got this, just from like the way they word things.
Yeah.
Multiple choices were always my favorite, because you could immediately cull 2 answers and then get halfway to the answer and then determine which of the remaining 2 choices.
That's why Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is a game show for dullards.
I don't disagree with that. I love that, actually.
Oh, I have to tell you guys about this insane game show that we watched over Thanksgiving too, but we'll do it at the end.
Is it the one with Michael Higgins?
No. We will. This is a teaser. We'll get to it.
Okay. All right. You got to tell me, because I love a game show.
So after the teacher calls Miles on his self-sabotage, Miles sneaks out of the dorm that evening to go visit his Uncle Aaron. Notably, he enters through the fire escape, doesn't he? I think in this first, yeah.
And this is where we get a small clip in the background of the Community episode Anthropology 101.
Fantastic bit.
I did have to look up what episode that was, because I did notice it. I was like, hey, that's Donald Glover. Hey, he's wearing a Spider-Man pajamas.
Yeah.
Also, the other Easter egg this is probably referencing is everybody was like, hey, fucking Donald Glover would be great to play Miles Morales. Like when the Miles Morales comics like first started the superhero movies are running. And
I think Brian Michael Bendis even said that at some point as like the creator of Miles Morales.
Well, yeah, and there was he did a one of his stand-ups where there was a joke about like people want him to play Spider-Man, and he was like, yeah, half the people were like, oh, that'd be awesome. The other people are just like, he's black, kill him.
But they did do a nod to him in the Tom Holland, because he was in the first Tom Holland.
In the
Spider-Man.
first one, he was a gun dealer.
And he specifically references he has a nephew from the same hometown. So he is potentially another character.
And I don't think it's potentially. I think they wrote it purposely like that to keep it open.
Yeah. So Uncle Aaron gives Miles some advice on talking to girls, teaches him the shoulder touch, which is where you put your hand on a girl's shoulder and go, hey,
That
in
ain't never worked.
a particular inflection, which is not particularly good advice. But, so Uncle Aaron actually takes Miles out of the apartment at this point, and they go to a spot in some abandoned tunnels or offshoot of subway tunnels, where there's a primo clear spot for some graffiti, and Miles decorates it, and it's actually a really cool piece of art. I put in my notes, this is a good point to talk about the art style and animation as well as the music in this movie whipping serious ass.
This is correct.
It's
Although
a
the
great
one
scene to demonstrate that.
I will say the one song that Miles is like Miles's theme, I kind of fucking hate. The one that he keeps humming to himself.
The one they wrote that specifically. I mean, they several of the tracks on this film were written.
Oh yeah, there's a song where they're
explicitly for
rapping
the
about
movie.
Spider-Man. Of course, they made that for this movie.
Oh yeah, but this one was too, and it sounds otherwise just like any sort of pop mix. But
yeah, it's bad.
I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
I kind of hate it.
I think they specifically had it designed so that Miles looks a bit goofy when he's trying to use that to calm himself down, and it plays
That's fair.
perfectly.
Yeah, that does play pretty well.
So while Miles is working on his graffiti art, we see a glitchy looking spider dropping from the ceiling and climbing on Miles. And there's this like tension build where it's like climbing under Miles's clothes while he's doing his art, but just like falls off of him at a certain point. And Miles completes the mural, and after it's done, Uncle Aaron actually reminisces about how he and Miles' dad used to do stuff like this before his dad got super into becoming a cop. Miles actually even expresses surprise, like, Dad used to do shit like this? Anyway, Miles goes to take a picture of his finished piece here, and that's when he gets bit by the spider. It's like right on his hand. And this is a funny bit in the film too, where like it like zooms in and you see like the radioactive venom in like one of those internal scenes, like reacting with Miles's cells and stuff like that, and it's all dramatic, and then it cuts back to the regular shot, and Miles just smacks the spider and kills it and just walks away. So Miles goes back to his dorm, and we get a time lapse of him sleeping while his roommate is up all night on the computer reading comics. Basically exactly what my experience in college was for me personally, which was never sleeping.
Yeah, I saw
mine,
him doing that, and I was like, it's just like me for real, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine was because at the time it was like online poker was still the Wild West. Like you could just sign up, it didn't matter how old you were. So I would play Midnight Madness tournaments every single night.
You're probably playing with my stepdad. He spent way too much money on those fucking internet poker things.
Oh my god, those times were wild. Where I'm just like, yo, are you sure you want to let me play? I am 18 years old and you are not asking for any identification. This bubble is going to burst. And it did.
Oh, it did.
Yeah, because I played on Full Tilt, which is now outlawed in every single country for money laundering.
Cool.
So the roommate, they never name him, and I don't even think he has any speaking roles. It's supposed to be Genki, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So in the morning, Miles wakes up and his pants are too short for him. Like he's sprouted up a bit overnight. And then he notices that his inner monologue is particularly loud. He's sweating. He's convinced he's going through puberty, which is pretty funny. And then he runs into Gwen Stacy, and it results in a very awkward conversation where he even says, he's like, she's like, why are you so sweaty? He's like, oh, it's nothing, just puberty. I mean, I already went through puberty. It's funny, awkward. And it gets way worse from here because he goes to do the shoulder touch. And this is where his Spider-Man stickiness chooses to manifest itself, and his hand is stuck to her shoulder. And then worse, gets stuck to like in her hair. And oh, that's right. This is where her awkward introduction is. She goes to say her name, corrects herself at the last second, and says her name is Gwanda, which she corrects and says Wanda. And then Now, this was a particularly odd joke to me, but it was funny. She's like, when he goes, "Your name is Gwanda," and she's like, "Yeah, South African, but I don't have an accent because I didn't grow up there." And it's just an odd
Yeah.
origin to go with for that. But
But
hey,
then doesn't she eventually say, "Oh no, it's Wanda, no G"?
yes, she does.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Miles is unable to get his hand unstuck from Wanda's hair, and they have to shave it out like it's bubble gum at the nurse's office.
Yep.
It's even shaved in the shape of a handprint, which is very funny.
Yeah.
So after this, Miles runs into the security guard who claims to know that Miles snuck out of the dorms, which is against the rules, which makes sense for a fucking high school. And he tries to run away and duck the security guard, but ends up running directly into the security guard's office, where on his computer is playing what sounds to be like a personally recorded series of Spider-Man themed Christmas jingles.
Oh no, they explicitly shout this out during Peter Parker's intro at the very beginning. He says, "I recorded a Christmas album."
Oh,
So
it's Spider-Man's Christmas
it's
album.
Spider-Man's Christmas album.
Okay. So the stickiness shit is continuing to manifest here, and he ends up outside the window, stuck to the side of the building, and then
Okay, I actually got to loop around to the fucking Spider-Man Christmas album because during the credits they play one of the songs and it devolves into him being like, "Why did I agree to record this?" It's like the funniest bit in the whole movie.
But yeah, so of course every trope joke being stuck outside the building or something happening outside a classroom is used during this scene as Miles makes his way on the outside of the building from the security guard's office to his dorm room, basically. However, during this, Wanda sees him stuck to the side of the building. And then when he gets back to his dorm room, he lands on one of his roommate's comic books, which is a Spider-Man comic book, and sees basically the same train of thought that he has been having since the morning played out in this origin Spider-Man comic book.
I don't know why they didn't just use the actual art from a Steve Ditko Spider-Man origin story.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Can we take a brief moment to go off on a nerd tangent? Because
absolutely,
this has always bothered me with Spider-Man, and I don't read enough Spider-Man comics to know if they ever addressed it. So in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, they show like the little fucking barbed hairs or whatever on Peter's like fingertips that explain the stickiness.
Yes,
that's a divergence from Spider-Man standard lore. I can't remember what the actual fucking explanation is, but I'll look it up.
Because they wear shoes. Like, you assume they have to have soles on their shoes. How are they sticking if it's some sort of organic biological power?
It's one of those things where, like, all you have to tell me is, like, he has the powers of a spider. Spiders crawl up walls. I get it. I don't need, like, hairs on the hand.
Definitely, like, I don't think it's ever actually explained in the comic books until after Sam Raimi's movies established that as a visual thing.
Okay, I'm fine with that, but I've always wondered if the answer is just he has the power of the
spider. Oh, actually, hold
up.
It has to do with fucking electrostatic reaction between his body and any surface on an interatomic level.
Okay. All right.
Well, there we go.
Not only does that, so that's for the original Spider-Man as well?
Well, I mean, I think that was established in like the 80s or 90s as the explanation because you didn't need to explain that shit back in the fucking 60s when Spider-Man first came out.
But no, I'm saying that applies to Peter Parker's Spider-Man as well.
Yeah, specifically. Okay.
Because the electrostatic thing actually comes into play with Miles's specific brand of powers that he got from his spider.
Okay, interestingly enough, this is never broached in an actual comic book. It's only brought out in some of the Marvel handbooks to the Marvel Universe, is when it's explained.
So the Marvel equivalent of errata?
Yes, basically.
Okay. All right.
Little Marvel encyclopedias that they used to sell at the Scholastic Book Fair.
Hey, man, some of the only interesting entries at the Scholastic Book Fair. I'm fine with that. Except for those Animorph books. This is almost an Animorph podcast as far as my
Yeah.
weird niche interests are concerned. Anyway, but yeah, no. Best depiction of the horrors of war in a kids series. Go back and read them.
Man, there's a lot of weird genocide in those. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you'll be horrified.
Oh,
And
the
it doesn't-
one with the fucking where they're like a starfish. The starfish one is incredibly fucked up on a lot of different levels.
Oh, where like it
They cut like
creates a
their leg
clone of
off
the
and it creates
kid.
yeah, exactly, the clone shit.
You are so far off as far as the most horrifying shit in that series.
Oh no, that's just the one that sticks out at me personally.
So no, for me it was the late in the series they go to a children's hospital and give a bunch of disabled kids, like permanently disabled kids, the ability to morph, and then morphing back into their human forms like heals them.
Weird.
But it doesn't matter. All of the kids die in the same book. They all die. They're all killed by the bad guys. And then another good one is where they're like on an enemy alien ship and the aliens are in a harmless state unless they're actively controlling a person. And the leader of this group of child soldiers decides to flush like 100,000 enemy non-combatants into the void of space. So you get a kid committing a war crime in that series.
Oh shit!
It's wild. If I'm dead serious, if you're an adult and you can plow through the entire series in like maybe 2 days of moderate reading.
Yeah, they're like what a $1.50 in terms of page count each, like 150 pages.
Yeah, and it's like print,
big print. Yeah.
Anyway, back on point. So Miles tries to reach out to his uncle Aaron to like sort of talk down these issues. He in fact very pointedly goes to call his dad and decides that his dad wouldn't be the right person to go to with this information. Unfortunately, Uncle Aaron's voicemail indicates that he is out of town for a couple of days. Something else mentioned on the voicemail is that it's time for more ads unless you've subscribed to us on Patreon. Unfortunate. I hate advertisement, product placement, and stories. But that's why you got to pay. So
you gotta
give, dude. And there's
gotta give
for the episode.
Yes, we just gotta hit Sopranos next.
Yeah,
we do.
Throw a little Twin Peaks in just for me.
Obviously.
All right. So yeah, listen to these ads or fast forward or give. Just give.
Just give. Look, if you don't give, we're going to send Brody Lee to your house and he's going to kick the shit out of you.
I'm going to send you a bunch of videos that you can't adjust the volume on that autoplay. So Miles goes back to try and find the body of the spider that bit him and started all of this. And he finds the body and goes, oh, it's just a normal spider. And then it does this like glitch animation. He's like, ah, shit. And so it's at this point that his Spidey sense manifests in a very serious fashion. It kind of gives him like, oh, this spider was around a bunch of toxic chemicals, and that gave it its weird radioactive power, and that's what transferred to him when it bit him. Oh, and also there is a full-on fight with Peter Parker's Spider-Man and a gigantic mutated Green Goblin, which is pretty cool.
It's the what do you call it? Ultimate Spider-Man universe Green Goblin. That's basically what he always looked like.
Like a gigantic demon with
like
wings?
A big fucking demon with wings. Big doofy demon with wings.
Oh shit.
That's cool.
Yeah.
During the fight, Miles, who's just trying to avoid getting caught in the middle of it, gets saved by Spider-Man. And apparently one of the spider sense abilities is recognizing other Spidey people, which is a thing expressed several times in this film. So he's like, oh shit, you're like me. Don't worry, I'll teach you about it. Let me just go finish this fight real quick. So he goes back to fighting Green Goblin, who is trying to do something with some sort of particle accelerator that's hidden, remotely near these subway tunnels.
There's two things that they don't really establish this very well. And I kind of think that it's either that the Green Goblin is working for Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, or Spider-Man and Green Goblin were fighting and just happened to end up into this particle accelerator.
I think it has to be B, because like
it has to be A. Fisk explicitly says something to Norman during the fight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right. He says like, end it, Norman.
Yeah. And sorry, it's not a particle accelerator. That's what I wrote at the beginning of my notes. It's a collider, like a super collider.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man goes to disable the machine, and he is attacked by a purple caped and masked figure with these claw gauntlets. And then while he's dealing with that, the Green Goblin comes in, makes it a 2-on-1. And this is where we get Schreiber's Wilson Fisk coming over the intercom. This is where it's established that it's his machine, and he activates it, causing beams to shoot out and collide in the middle.
And I love the character design on Kingpin here. I love that they went for the Bill Sienkiewicz big boy.
So that's another nerd diversion I want to go down. Why is Kingpin able to fist fight Spider-Man?
Because it's all muscle, baby.
So he's just like the biggest, buffest dude.
He's the biggest boy.
He is the biggest boy.
Okay,
this is like well established in Spider-Man lore that everybody thinks Wilson Fisk is this big, soft doughboy, but no, he's a big, rock solid man.
I get the whole like, oh, he's like if you ever looked at a strongman competition, like those guys aren't 0% body fat; they're barrel-shaped individuals.
Yes.
And can fight literal superpowered human beings, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. But I thought the whole thing was like if Spider-Man ever actually punched somebody with his full, like a human with his full strength, they just cave their skull in.
I mean, it's comic books, man. He's just a really buff guy.
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly fine with the answer being it's comic books, dude.
Yeah, listen, he's a big buff boy. He's not goosed.
That's not a goose suit. They don't goose him at all.
No.
There's no goosing.
I mean, like the big thing with this specifically is that they're going for the Bill Sienkiewicz Kingpin design, which is extremely like you don't look at a Bill Sienkiewicz comic and think that's a 1-to-1 reality in terms of proportions or anything like that. He always over exaggerates, uses foreshortening to really sell his compositions, that type of thing. Usually, Kingpin looks more like just a big guy.
Well, he has no neck in this one, so
no, he has
I
no
kind of
neck.
got that.
Yeah.
So it looks like the particle collider is specifically to open some sort of interdimensional portal, because the scientists in the control room are like identifying different dimensions. However, the reaction is unstable and starts spilling out into New York City proper. Green Goblin shoves Spider-Man's head directly into the particle beam at this point. And then there is an explosion that sort of shuts everything down, tosses everybody. The reaction is particularly violent. So Miles stumbles around the rubble in the aftermath and finds the very injured Peter Parker, who hands over the override key to the collider and then tries to give him like a very truncated, like, here's a couple of instructions. You got to hide your face to keep yourself and your friends and family safe from Kingpin. He like knows all and sees all in the city. Basically, his criminal network is so expansive. Peter, then tells him to get the hell out of there. Miles hides just as Kingpin finds Peter, who correctly clocks that Kingpin is trying to find Vanessa in an alternative dimension, and Peter tells him that it won't work before Kingpin crushes him to death, particularly violently.
Yeah, this movie kind of goes hard, like on the violence.
It does. I mean, it's a good kids movie.
Yes. Miles unfortunately bumps into something, as every main character hiding in a movie does. And then the purple clad figure is then sent to hunt down what made that noise by the Kingpin. We get a chase scene of Miles dodging around subway trains and struggling to control his powers in his mad dash to get away. We do see Purple Dude has a pretty dope motorcycle. He continues the joke. We get a Banksy joke because like we get a cutaway to like some New Yorkers just looking at the interdimensional collide just causes like a bunch of random shit to be stuck to things. And so two New Yorkers are just looking at this street lamp with a bunch of shit hanging off of it. And he was like, I'm pretty sure that's a Banksy.
I like the joke. I don't think it's a Banksy joke. I think it's a how stupid the layman is about art joke.
Sure. But I mean, like, if you're gonna make a joke like that, Banksy is who you use because it's pop. It's pop
exactly
art.
Yeah, I think it was that was the only artist that dude could think of at that exact moment is the joke.
Yeah. Miles manages to elude his purple pursuer, because I love alliteration, and manages to make it back home, to the surprise of his parents. So he went back home as opposed to his dorm, because a lot of traumatic shit just happened to him. That night, his parents are watching the news in the other room, and we get the news story that Spider-Man has been reported dead, and his real identity was Peter Parker. And we get to see that news sort of ripple through the city at this point. So the next day, Miles goes to like a comic shop or a costume shop. This is where we get our Stan Lee cameo.
Not the only one, though.
But it is a very good one.
It is the only Stan Lee cameo where he speaks. He is in the background of every single shot involving a train in the entire movie.
Really?
Yup. If you take a look at every single subway, there is a Stan Lee there.
Yeah, I missed that one too.
I caught this viewing that you also see Stan Lee in the sequence where Peter B. Parker and Miles Morales are swinging attached to each other. And they land in like the middle of a fucking Stanley steps over in the crosswalk. Yeah, exactly. He steps over Miles in that scene.
Very funny. So yeah, Miles goes and he buys an off the rack Spider-Man costume. He has this interaction with Stan Lee, who runs the costume shop. There's a great bit here where it sounds like what Stan Lee's saying is, particularly poignant, because he's like, what do I do if it doesn't fit? And Stanley goes, it always fits eventually. Like, you'll grow into the role. But then the camera zooms in behind him. There's a sign that says no refunds or returns under any circumstances.
Yeah.
And I think Stanley gets the fucking anime villain glasses glimpse.
Very solid. And so, Miles then goes to a public square where Mary Jane is making a public statement. And a bunch of the attendees are wearing Spider-Man costumes or masks or something like that. And I can't remember the exact line. I didn't write it down, but it is also one of my favorite jokes in the movie where Mary Jane was like, he believed, anybody could wear the mask and be a hero or something like that. And Miles goes, I will. And the person standing next to him is like, I don't think she was talking to you directly. It was kind of more like a metaphor.
Yeah. That bit gets a laugh out of me every time.
Every time. Because I would 100% be that guy in the crowd who's like, no, I think you're misunderstanding what is actually being said.
It's a colloquial metaphor. It's an idiom, if you will.
Yeah. But yeah, that one does get me every time as well. And then I do think this is probably the appropriate stopping point for the midway. We have our setup, we have Miles confronting his new responsibility here and trying to figure out how he's going to manage all this shit and learn to control his powers. And we have the death of Spider-Man. That's pretty big.
Yep.
So, yeah, let's call it. Spider-Man
Sounds good to me.
Into the Spider-Verse first half in the books. Please join us next time when we conclude this film, which, again, if it isn't perfectly clear, we all enjoyed. So we're going to have some more good things to say about it and to wrap up the storyline. In the meantime, if you find yourself, Chris, pining for more Nic Cage Fight podcast material, Ryan didn't like that. You can find us on social media. We're still on X at CageFight_pod. We have Patreon, where if you hate those annoying ads as much as we do, you can toss us $1 a month and get rid of those. Rich, what's the where do they go for that again?
Patreon.com/Nic Cage fight. $1 a month, like Josh said, will delete those ads. And it will delete all ads from your life.
We're losing money on this deal, folks. Strike now.
It has a less than 1% success rate, though.
The iron is hot. Give us $1.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it has a 100% success rate for our podcast. We're working on the technology, though, to have it delete all ads out of your life for $1 a month.
Could you imagine? That would be a product that we could really fucking sell. Before we were assassinated. 100%. Fucking Disney Kill Squad. Somebody dressed as Spider-Man would put one in the back of our heads.
I would prefer sourtime dressed as Mickey Mouse.
I was
going to
say
it's funnier.
Mickey Mouse in a trench coat. And he's got a baseball bat.
Die, motherfucker! Huh?
No, I want Pluto to watch.
Oh shit. you can find us on Facebook if you think we're Nic Cage, or after this episode you think we're Spider-Man. Possibilities are endless there if you're drunk enough and enough of an uncle. But yeah, otherwise tune in next time when we conclude this thrilling Spider-Man adventure. And as always, dear listener, we appreciate you.